Question 3. How did you incorporate or interact with each subject, art, English, science, social studies, in your components? How did the individual subjects help you better understand a sense of place? Well, first, start on the art and architecture, design, textures, all these things. Well, I figured out when going to the Wellesley Free Public Library that there were a bunch of paintings on the walls, and I was wondering, well, where do these paintings come from? I looked it up, and they are a part of the Wellesley Free Public Library's mission of providing an educational and cultural role in the community. They display artwork of local artists as well as students to the whole public. They do applications to be able to get on the wall to show why. And there's a huge exhibition of these different artworks, which I thought was very interesting and very different of Wellesley. I don't usually see in towns them trying to create a sense of community by showing people's artwork in town, and which I think makes the town very centralized. I very much enjoyed seeing that. For the English perspective, I made 2 different poems of my experience in the Wellesley Free Public Library, which I will share with you now. My first one was a haiku. Young children running, how happy they seem to be, learning from their elders. As you can see, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, then 5 syllables again. My second poem was just a regular poem, kind of basic poem, but I really like how it turned out. I search around the seemingly empty town and explore amongst the people, watching the kids going homeward bound, walking carefully down the steep hill, holding their mother's hands, then making sure they don't fall. As the kids march around like a band, their mothers represent a gentle giant, kind and tall. That was, when I was in the Free Public Library, I took recordings, and I sat in the middle of the center of the library and watched these kids leave their classes, and a mother and her son I'm pretty sure a mother and her son caught my eye, and I heard them talking, and it made me smile, and I kind of took this poem and I took that image and made it into the poem that I wrote. My social studies part of this was that I looked up the history of the, fondly enough, I looked up the history of the library, and I learned that in 1883, the Wellesley Free Public Library opened and was chosen to be opened by Horatio Hollis Hunnewell and designed by the architects Shaw and Hunnewell. Also, I learned that it was not always where it stands right now. It was actually across the way where Town Hall now stands, which I thought was very interesting. And then in 1959, Carl Cook and Kirkland Construction built a new library for $365,000, which opened across the street where it currently stands, which was crazy to think that it didn't always stand where it stands right now. It was very interesting to learn that. And last but not least, science perspective, I learned that in 2016, these things called neo-robots, their names Lava and Sky, brought the digital literacy to life. They were high-tech ambassadors which welcomed our Wellesley community to a program called STEAM, so these robots are high-tech ambassadors, which welcome the world to STEAM, as I said. They encourage curiosity, excitement, and a passion for figuring out how, why, and what if robots can be. The robots are programmed by Choreograph, which is a software system that helps create complex behavior with a single line of code. The program loops through the sequence until you say you do not want to play with the robots anymore. When you're done, You thank the robot for spending time with you. I didn't know that Wellesley Free Library had robots. I thought that was kind of crazy, especially since Wellesley doesn't seem like the type of town that would have that type of. I mean, it's a very rich town, obviously, but I didn't think that they would have such creative technology at our fingertips, which really shows how centralized this place is.